Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk a little bit about real estate and the real estate bubble. Is there a real estate bubble? But we want to just kind of talk about how to prepare for what is possibly next, so that way you can succeed, or that way you can protect yourself, you and your family. Now in this video, I am not going to go on either side, because I know that some people say there's not a bubble, some say there is a bubble. Well, that's not really my discussion today. It's really just more so to help us win. But typically, if there is a bubble, there's always something within that bubble that's not necessarily bubble-ish. Basically, in every situation, there's an opportunity. And one of the things on this channel we love to talk about is how you can be prepared. We don't like reacting, we like to be prepared. Let's talk about some proactive steps and some things to think about if you're maybe looking to purchase a home right now, or if you've already purchased a home, or even if you are a real estate agent moving forward. Even if you're a real estate investor, just overall, how can you kind of prepare? And I have a few tips. So basically what's been happening in the real estate market is something that most people didn't expect, would have happened. A lot of people thought the real estate market would have crashed just like the stock market, but what we're seeing all-time highs, or maybe not all-time highs, but we're seeing things pretty up there and things kind of going upwards and upwards and upwards. And so the same with the stock market. With real estate, we've seen real estate prices constantly climb, and there's been a lot of people that have been waiting for a crash. All the way back when the pandemic happened, people thought it would be a crash, but there were some mechanics that have kind of, in a sense, prevented that and kind of held up a part of the real estate. And this thing like having, lower rates, and then you have the different moratoriums that are preventing, for any type of foreclosures and keeping people who may be behind in their rent and stuff like that within the home. But those things do come to an end. We'll talk about it a little bit. But basically what happens when things are going really, really good and things are going great, a lot of times people, they just get locked into the moment. Now, I'm not going to say, come out of the moment. Hey, enjoy. If you're a real estate agent or a real estate investor, whatever you're doing and you're having success and you're making money, congratulations, enjoy. However, also be mindful of the years to come. Don't just be one-sided where you just see all the great things happening, but you have not paid attention to, what can be coming down the pipe later. Now, will it happen? I mean, we virtually really don't know. And then in a sense, we may kind of know, but I think it's always good just to be prepared. But if you're someone that has purchased a home, congratulations. I mean, that's awesome. There's some things in here too that you might want to just be considerate about, especially in the next coming year. So for those that are making money in real estate, however you're making money in real estate, it's exciting. You're making more money than you've probably ever made within that industry. Now, one of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to get so excited and thinking that it's never going to have an end, or there may not be any lows, because there will be. And so what you want to do is not just spend all of your money. This isn't the time for you to increase your own lifestyle, because you're like, hey, I'm living real good. I'm just going to start buying up stuff and getting all this stuff. I'm going to lifestyle creep too and just get more and more stuff and go into more and more of that. No, this is when you take that money. Yes, feel free to take a percentage, do something great for yourself, but start putting some money to the side, locking some money into some really good long-term investments, because what happens is people a lot of times when they're really excited and things are happening and they're making all this money, a lot of times they don't necessarily think about, the low times or what could happen. They don't prepare for the possibilities, or as, growing up, the old folks would say, those rainy days. So if all the money you're making, don't spend it all. Understand, start putting money to the side and just preparing in case, because in a down market, of course, the money is scarce, and then that can affect you and your properties or whatever it is that you have, instantly. And it can really take a toll on your bank account, and it can take a toll on anything, but you want to be prepared. So that if anything does happen and there is a crash, basically your whole life is not, just weighted on, if you sell the next house or not, or whatever the case may be. But because you've prepared, it won't hurt you too much, or it may not hurt you at all, because you were smart with your money. So that's one of the first things is, if you're making a lot of money right now, great, excited, congratulations, but just make sure that you put some to the side and prepare. Now, here's something for those that are looking to maybe, purchase a home right now. Now, here's the thing, because the rates are lower, people are able to get higher loans. So if you were approved for a loan, normally if the rates were a little bit higher, for let's just say, for example, $100,000, but now with the rates being so low, you can maybe now get a loan for 150, 200,000, right? Basically, you're able to get a higher loan, which allows you to get more house versus getting, less house. Now, that's awesome. But here's some things to think about that you may not think about in that process. When you have one house, when you have a house, there's maintenance that comes with their house. There's so many different mechanics, the location, there's so many different things that could add in more money that you will have to, come out in expenses, just around that house on top of your mortgage. So if you were to get more house, then yes, you may be able to, afford your budget of the mortgage, but more house now means more utilities, more electric, more gas, more water, whatever the situation is. If the house is located in an HOA versus the house isn't in an HOA, there's so many different expenses that come with that, and repairs and things that can affect you that you should also think about as well. Because although it looks good on paper for that mortgage, and you're like, oh wow, that's pretty good, but you also want to make sure that you can be able to handle the maintenance, repairs, etc., any other expenses that come with you getting a larger house. Larger house, larger responsibilities. Smaller house, smaller responsibilities. Okay, so that's something to think about, because what a lot of people aren't really necessarily doing is they aren't necessarily thinking about or thinking that far ahead into, well, what are the long-term expenses for getting a much larger house? So make sure that you put that within your calculations and your estimations. And you can also do your own research around that, just trying to find out, well, what are the average expenses that people are paying for, X amount of dollars for, this size house or whatever the case is. Just do a little research about that, so that way you don't, get the house, but then, you can't buy furniture, you can't, eat no food, or what they call house poor, because the expenses and the things that are attached to it that you did not account for are just much higher than you expected. And especially when we're in this pandemic, where as much as we don't hear about it, you have people, jobs, and income has been affected. So you want to just kind of keep those things in mind, so that way you don't put yourself in a bad position, you and your family. Now also think about this in selling in the future. All right, so for example, housing, the prices are going up and going up. So a lot of people have been offering a lot more money for the house. Like even a few neighbors that I know have moved within the last few years, they've been like, wow, people have offered just a higher amount of money for the house, right? So that means that people are feeling good, because with the rates so low, which the rates have been dropping for quite, even before the pandemic, the rates were actually dropping. But like what happens is people feel confident, like, hey, I really want this house. Let's offer an extra 10, 20, 50, 60, 100,000 just to get this house, because hey, we can afford it. We got a low interest rate, right? So then you end up with paying a lot more for a house, right? Which is good for the seller. So the seller's excited. Well, here's the kicker. Now what you do want to make sure that you be mindful of is when you sell the house, because you're buying a house a lot higher than you normally would. That means it may take you a while to actually build equity in that house, meaning that house is worth more than you owe on it, versus if you were to sell, or you have to sell, or if in a situation where now you can't afford it, or if you just wanted to sell your house, be mindful that when you sell your house, because if you sell it in a market that's down, you might not get the value or the amount that you paid for that out of that sale. You might have to sell it less. So if you have to sell it for a lot less and you have not been able to get any equity in it, that means you'll be upside down. And even after the sale, you'll still owe some money, and you'll still have something that will either get rolled into your next mortgage, or you'll just have to pay, on top of whatever it is. So keep that in mind also, as you guys are out here offering and throwing up money and saying, yes, I just want it. Keep in mind about, if you're interested in selling it as well, that it may take you a while or a little bit longer to really build some sustainable equity within that house. Now, some things to be mindful about this time is that we do have evictions that are paused. You have things where people are not being kicked out of their house. Not just renters, but also people who own houses. So all those things are paused. You have a lot of people who are in forbearance and things like that. Well, at some point, it will all come to an end where those different moratoriums and those restrictions and things are removed. And then you kind of see exactly what your housing market really has, because right now it's just basically, low supply but high demand. And so because of the low supply, high demand, prices are up. That's just kind of the simple side of economics. But let me say this to you: if you're someone that find yourself that you are in forbearance, or you are behind, right, or you're someone that is having a hard time with rent, but you have been able to get some of the rental assistance or the mortgage assistance that's out there that was passed through the stimulus. So basically, if you find yourself where you're getting money, you're getting income, you're getting some type of money being deposited into your account, whatever it is, if it's unemployment, whatever the case is, don't get comfortable with that. Make sure that you're still working, trying to find some more employment, or rather trying to work on a skill, or if you started a business or something. Don't get comfortable, because once these things leave and once these restrictions are gone, it's going to be just you and the mortgage company, or just you and your landlord, and you want to be prepared. So don't get too comfortable. Get on your toes. Get sharp, and you want to stay active and keep moving. And if you did lose your job, I'm sorry to hear about that, but definitely try to find some replacement income outside of whatever it is that you're getting, so that way that you're not kind of left in a rut, basically, once all these different things are removed, because it won't last forever, whether it's through this year or whether it's through next year. Now, if you're someone that's into real estate investing and things like that, if there is a market crash, then of course having cash on hand will matter the most. And having cash puts you at a high advantage against those who are in real estate investing, but they absolutely don't have cash, or they don't have access to the investors, or don't have access to the money, or to be able to get the money in order to make those investments in bad real estate. So keep those things in mind, that it's just like with the stock market. Like, yes, things are going great, but then in a stock market crash, you do want to have some cash on hand, so that you can buy really, really good companies that are really, really great companies for cheap. Same thing with houses. Like for me and my wife, we actually purchased our home during the recession. So that means we were able to actually, get a pretty good discount on purchasing our home. Or just like the stock market, like, listen, some of my best investing has been back during the recession, back in 08, 07, 09. So understand that having some cash on hand is something to also think about on the side, which goes back to my first point about, not having lifestyle creep, and, or just like you popping the bottles because, hey, you balling now, right? But just make sure that you take and you're also putting some money to the side and investing on the side, or what have you. So that way that you don't find yourself in one of those situations where you done made all this money and it's gone. You got a bigger house or a bigger car, you got more expenses, whatever the case is, and then the market hits and now you don't have the ability to make the money like you normally would. So hopefully this will help you in a time where unemployment is constantly going up, and no matter what the numbers say, the unemployment is always higher than what it looks like, because it doesn't account for so many aspects of unemployment, and even to people who are just no longer searching for jobs. And then you have less jobs being created right now, at the stock market high, real estate high. So in times like that, it is smart to be cautious. It doesn't mean you have to be negative towards either or, but it just means be cautious. So if things are going great. There's no need to be doom and gloom. You just prepare. That's it. No problem. All right, guys, these are just some real estate tips for now to maybe help somebody right now. Just some things that had in a conversation with a few others. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Feel free to stick around. Happy investing. See you guys around. Peace. Love you much.